So for question number 4, given a long function using algebraic method, show that this function is one-to-one. So what is algebraic method? You have to substitute fx1 equals to fx2. You have to substitute x1 into your function. So you become 5x1. Substitute x2 in your function. You become here 5x2. So what should you going to show? You have to move everything to the right hand side until you left your x1 here. So when you unlock this, so we remove this, we get 5x squared plus 2. Then we move the 2. So 2 minus 2 can be cancelled. Then 5 divided by pi also can be cancelled. So you can notice that x1 only equals to one answer x2. So that will be your one-to-one function. x1 equals to x2. Conclusion, it is a one-to-one function. So when it's asking you to show something, so you have to come up with the conclusion. It's not just put a value of, it's not just put a shown here. What do you need to show? Because the question is not asking you to show x1 equals to x2. Question asks you to show this sentence. So you have to stick back the conclusion with that sentence. So secondly, B, find the inverse function. So as before this, f inverse equals to y. Then you inverse f inverse become f, domain and range change. So what do you going to do? Substitute your y inside your function. And then you remove everything at the left hand side here until you get y. So unlock this. Your base of e will go to opposite, become e to the power of x. So move 2 minus 2, move your 5 divided by 2. So your f inverse to be exponential function. And then what's your domain and range? Okay, so domain and range. So as we learned before, domain, you have to refer to its range. Range, you have to refer to its domain. So for this function that we're dealing with is a ln 5x plus 2. So domain, as I said before, domain that you need to be careful is surd, log, and r, DSLR. So for log function, you have to calculate whatever log brings here, it have to greater than 0. So that's why your x have to be greater than negative 2 over 5. So negative 2 over 5 up to infinity. Meanwhile, for range, so as you notice that your log bentuk dia macam ini, whether up, going down. So you're going up from the down, so up to the down, so that will have any limit that cut the function. So for range of the log function, it always negative infinity to infinity. Okay, so just now for f22, so you're going to substitute 2 into your function. So you figure out 12. So substitute ln 12. Substitute ln 12 into the place of x. So 5 times ln 12. So this one you can figure with your calculator. Then we proceed to the part C, which is sketching the function and an inverse function. So most of the students cannot sketch correctly because the first function fx is already wrong. So what that you refraction, the function inverse also getting wrong. Alright, so look at the function fx. Set up our Cartesian, which is our x-axis, y-axis, and refraction axis, pasti pangtolan, y equals to x, which is going up to the right. So from here, look at the domain. As we calculate the domain of log, you already notice that your x is greater than negative 1 over 2, negative 2 over 5. Means your log asymptote happen at negative 2 over 5. So draw your asymptote and you label this is x negative 2 over 5, which is your vertical asymptote for your log. So log dia macam tiang lampu. So going to inverse or not, negative 2 to the negative 2 over 5 to infinity means it will be at right hand side. start from negative 2 over 5 to infinity, it will be right hand side. Sometimes our graph can be inverse, but this graph not to be inverse because you can see the coefficient here. Perkali function ni adalah positif. So graph kamu tidaklah terbalik. So dia adalah tiang lampu berdiri tegak, so then naik. So most of the students, they will draw it like this, which is understood, which is not correct. Why? The original graph supposed to be beyond y equals to x. How do we know it is beyond y equals to x? You can check a value. So you can check, let's say x equals to 1. Alright, then what is your y coordinate for this function, which is ln 5 plus 2. So when you're having ln 5 plus 2, the value is bigger than 1. Means it is bigger than your refraction axis. So ln 7, you get your value 1.94. So to understand this, when x equals to 1, at your refraction axis is supposed to be 1 because y equals to x. But your graph is beyond your refraction axis. 1.9 something means your graph is above your refraction axis. So graph kamu adalah naik, going to shoot up above than your refraction axis. So what is your intercept here? You can notice that your graph here having an intercept here. So you can double check by calculate when x equals to 0, your function ln 0 times 5 ln 2. So here will be your value intercept ln 2 positively at y-axis. So label it straight away positively at y-axis ln 2. Then when you're having your function correctly, then only you reflect you can get your correct graph for f inverse. So di mana function ini sepatutnya di atas pasti pantulan. And then at the same time, you can see you're having an x-intercept here. So figure it out. When you're having a x-intercept means y will be equal to 0. So ln 5x plus 2 has to be equal to 0. Solve this, unlock e to the power 0. So it's supposed to be 1. So minus 2, negative 1 over 5. So when you're drawing a graph, make sure your original graph fx is correct first. If the intercept all fine already, then the next procedure, the last procedure is we're going to refract it. So lipat dan pantun. So bila kamu lipat dan pantun, so exactly at this point, we are having a vertical asymptote. When you refract, it will become a horizontal asymptote. So state it. And then your graph, you can see your graph, it intersect at here. So your image should be come from that point. And then going up. So at this point, suppose your image to be coming up. So try to draw it symmetrically. Then label this is our f inverse. With the intersection ln 2, here is negative 1 over 5. So lastly, we have a check. We'll have a check. So your function, is it correctly with the labeling? So asymptote, intercept, and name. So inverse function with the asymptote, and then intercept and name. And then x-axis, y-axis, and axis of symmetry.